Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Here we're going to do another sofa edition of the show. Today I want to talk about something that's been coming up a lot in a lot of the recent episodes that I've done. People, and a lot of this is in the comments. Scott Roeder said something about it in the previous show, like what people think these things are, this non-human intelligence here. I've been hearing a lot of people saying that they think they're demons. I hear people say that they think that they're interdimensional beings, that they're coming from a different dimension that exists side by side with ours somehow, or ultra-terrestrial in some fashion, whether they're here the whole time or that there's some other consciousness here with us. Recently I had a guy on the show here, Christopher Knoll, who wrote this really excellent book called Homegrown Monsters. And in that book, he theorizes that there's this challenger consciousness here among us, and that's what's responsible for the encounters people have with non-human intelligence and UFOs and so on and so forth. However, as you all realize, I call my show Extraterrestrial Reality, and there's a reason for that. I believe, in my mind, it's the only one that really makes scientific sense to me. It's the most plausible scientific explanation for what's happening, as far as I'm concerned, as far as anybody should be concerned, okay? For so many different reasons, okay? For so many different reasons. For one thing, these beings are physical in nature, just like we are. We've heard how many different accounts now. People like Leonard Stringfield, the late Leonard Stringfield, who did a lot of research from the 1970s into the all the way up until his death in 1994. He talked with a lot of people who had something to talk about with regard to crash retrievals as well as alien body retrievals, right? There were physical beings. I mean, when you study the Roswell case, for instance, I mean, it wasn't just radio station owners and newspaper reporters and just regular citizens that saw something weird out in Roswell. There were a lot of different military witnesses that stepped up over the years, starting with the late Major Jesse Marcel Sr. In the late 1970s. Now, Marcel Sr. didn't talk about alien bodies, but there were other people that came after him, other witnesses. I mean, it wasn't just a crashed flying saucer that was recovered. It was dead alien bodies. There's something physical that was found, physical biological creatures, just like David Grush, the whistleblower. He stated during under oath that there were alien biologics discovered. He said that under oath. That's what he said. I mean, there's just so much. There's just so much. If you do the research, right, you're going to come to understand that these things are physical in nature, and that the cover-up is not just retrieving the craft, it's retrieving their bodies in different cases. There's just a lot of different cases. When you study the literature, you realize that there's many cases that involve the recovery of dead alien bodies, right? It's just not just Roswell. There were a lot of other crash stories as well where alien bodies were found, and there's so much information out there with regard to that, and it just makes it impossible to say that it's not real. I mean, the research that was done on Roswell alone by people like Donald Schmidt, Thomas Carey, Kevin Randall, Stanton Friedman, the research that was conducted with that case alone, and the number of witnesses that were interviewed, there's no question that there were creatures that were discovered there that weren't human. There's just no doubt about it. There were just too many witnesses, right? So these things are physical. And then on top of it, right, the people like Ted Phillips, the late Ted Phillips, he passed away in 2020. He started looking into physical trace evidence left behind by craft and beings, right? He started that in 1964. And actually, he was one of the people that investigated the Socorro, New Mexico incident in 1964 that involved the policeman Lonnie Zamora, who worked as an officer with the Socorro Police Department back in the day. And of course, we all know that story. He saw something landing in the desert outside of Socorro. He heard a noise and he went to investigate. And when he got there, he saw this egg-shaped craft with little beings walking around it, right? He didn't know what, he thought they were people, right? They were short. They weren't like, normal size adults, right? They were short little beings. And then they apparently got into this egg-shaped craft, and it took off, right? And then when it was when this was investigated by actually the project members of Project Blue Book, Ted Phillips looked into it. He did the examination of the physical traces left behind. Other police officers looked into it. There was burnt vegetation. There were marks in the ground. There were footprints, real small footprints on the ground. right? These things are just like us. They're physical in nature. This is not some genie or like out of some folklore out of Islam. It's not demons. You want to talk about demons, right? We see demons. People act like demons. There are human beings in this world that act like demons, right? But these things, whatever they are, they're not demons. They might be up to no good, right? But they're not demons out of hell. That's what people are trying to say. I don't believe that. I think that these things are coming from other worlds. I don't think they're coming from other dimensions either. I mean, a lot of people say, well, yeah, there's portals opening up in the sky. Right? In my mind, I'm thinking, well, what if that's not a portal that you're seeing? Maybe that's an opening in the side of a giant mothercraft, a mothership. What if that's what it is? And there's things coming out of it or things going into it. Not a portal. I mean, one thing that we know, I mean, you look at some of these cases involving large craft, like the Stephenville, Texas incident from 2007, 2008. A lot of people saw a giant craft in the sky. One of the witnesses, Ricky Sorrells, saw this in broad daylight, some craft that was so large hovering above a canopy of trees outside of his house that he couldn't even see the end of it, where it ended. And then people from the military, somebody from the military came to him and told him to shut up about it and not talk about this anymore. So there's motherships out there, large motherships, and these beings, as we're starting to learn, right, as we're starting to realize, they obviously have the ability to make their craft and themselves at times invisible. They obviously have some sort of cloaking technology. I think that these beings are working within the laws of physics the same way as we are working within the laws. I mean, they figured some things out more advanced technologically than we have figured out to this point, but they are no different than us in that way. That's just my belief, and I'm going to talk to you why I really believe this, but we'll get into that in a minute. And you have the idea of like ultra-terrestrials, like basically beings that have been here the whole time, living alongside us, and we just really didn't realize it. We're just starting to realize it now. Now, I have an issue with that too, because there's really not a lot of evidence, not a lot of fossils, not a lot of things that we have found. Archaeologists have not really found a lot of different evidence that shows that there were other intelligent beings here on this planet in addition to us. We would have found some if they were here the whole time. Then how can we find fossils of dinosaurs that have been extinct for millions and millions of years, right? But yet there's nothing really like alien outside of what they've recently discovered in Nazca, the Nazca mummies, right? They have scientists there saying that these corpses that were found very well preserved from some cave that some tomb raiders have discovered, and when the scientists examine the bodies, there's quite a few scientists are saying that the DNA doesn't match anything that's known. On the other hand, you have other scientists saying it's all a hoax. I'm actually leaning toward the scientists that are saying that it's potentially alien, because it doesn't seem like there's no other examples of what they found anywhere else, right? So this seems to me like it could be alien. So if they are alien, what happened in Nazca then? Okay, I think it's possible that you have to use your imagination here. Maybe something came down thousands of years ago and crashed in Nazca, and there were some alien survivors, but they were, who knows, maybe they were forced into a life of servitude as living gods, and then they just died, and then they were thrown in a cave, and that's it. Maybe that's as simple as that. I mean, it shouldn't be that big of a deal, because we know that there's something here, right? We just don't have a lot of evidence that shows that that this presence was here in the long past. There's not a lot of physical evidence. There's not a lot of fossils. There's nothing in the fossil records to show that there's outside of those Nazca discoveries, right? And I believe, based on a lot of the people who have been following that story closely, they believe that it shows that there was something here that was not human a long time ago. Some sort of intelligent creatures were here thousands of years ago for some reason, and that's it. But that's all we really have. If that's the only example you could really point to at this point, right, where that shows that there was something here in the long past, I think that they've been. Here's my feeling on it. I think that they've been here a long time, keeping tabs on us, watching us, interested in our development. And then in the 20th century, because we started using atomic bombs, that sent up a red flag. And so I think that more of them came here in force at some point. It seems like, when you really think about it, in 1945, we started using the bomb. Within 2 years, all of a sudden, people are seeing flying saucers all over the place. It's like, where were they before? They were here and there, scattered around somewhat, but it wasn't like it was starting in 1947. It seems like we finally really got somebody's attention. So that's why I think that these are physical creatures. But when you look at the size of this universe, right, and the size is just let's just talk about here the Milky Way galaxy. There are hundreds of billions of solar systems in this galaxy alone. Hundreds of billions of solar systems, right? And there could be as many as 1 trillion planets in this galaxy alone. In this galaxy alone, 1 trillion planets in this galaxy alone. Hundreds of billions of solar systems, as many as 1 trillion planets, just here in this galaxy in which we reside. And then you go beyond that, and I talked about this number before. It's estimated that there's 700 quintillion planets in the universe. 700 quintillion. 1 quintillion equals 1,000,000 trillions. Think about that. It's ridiculous. But let's forget about the universe. I mean, the universe is, there's billions, if not trillions, right, of other galaxies out there, right? That's in addition to the one that we're in right now that has as many as 1 trillion planets in it. And if you look at the life that we have on this planet right now, there is identified about 1.9 million different species of life that have been identified. But scientists say that in actuality, overall, there is about 8.7 million different life forms on this planet. I mean, we're talking about everything. We're talking about amphibious creatures. We're talking about plant life. We're talking about mammals. We're talking about all of it, right? Reptiles, whatever. All of it together, 8.7 million different species on this planet. In a planet that's put in the right place and the conditions are right, this is what you get. Look at the life forms on this planet. It's unbelievable. You ever look at the crazy things that we find in the oceans? It's incredible. The different variety of life forms that we see on this planet. If it's possible here, and you're thinking about all the trillions of planets that are potentially trillion planets in this galaxy alone, obviously there's life on other places, right? And when you think about it, obviously some of this life from other places, some of it has to be intelligent, just like here, right? I mean, the human race is an intelligent life form. We look at how we are evolving. I mean, we've only been here, 300,000 years, according to the scientists, right? They say the human beings have been on this planet for about 300,000 years. However, we didn't even start recording history until 5,000 years ago. That's when recorded history began. So, it's not even a blip on the radar in this grand scheme of things. So obviously, it's more than possible. It's there's no question about it. Other intelligent life formed probably long before we were even around. And some of those life forms are probably still in existence. Some of them are out there. For all we know, the beings that are here, maybe the planet that they started on is dying out, or they need more room, and they're looking for other places, and that's why they're here. That could be the reason. We'll get into that later, but I just want to point out the fact that with the great number of life that we have on this planet right now that we see, to think that this isn't possible somewhere else is foolish, especially when you consider the number of planets in our own galaxy alone. Potentially 1 trillion. 1 trillion, imagine. Hundreds of billions of other solar systems, and possibly up to 1 trillion planets right here in this galaxy. There's life out there, and obviously we have evidence of something here. There's so many different people who have encounters with these beings, and these beings, the reason that they're so enigmatic is because they're just much more advanced than we are. That's what it comes down to. It's like, you ever see like the old Mission Impossible TV series or the new Mission Impossible movies, whatever, right? You see how when humans put their mind to something, right, they could figure out ways to trick other people very easily, right? And it seems easy, right, in these shows and movies, right? Imagine if you're like a more advanced than another civilization by about 1 million years or longer, or 1 billion years. What if they're 1 billion years more advanced than we are? Imagine. It's possible, right? And that's why, to us, their craft, the way they're able to, the beings themselves are able to make themselves invisible, all of these things, right? It seems like magic to us, because even our scientists, they don't even have words or phrases in their scientific journals that could try to explain the technology that's being exhibited by some of these beings that are here, right? That's how advanced these things could possibly be. I mean, if they're, you have to think that after millions and millions of years, if you're an intelligent civilization who's been around for 1,000,000 years, that's a lot longer than we've been around. We've been around, human beings have been around for about 300,000 years, right? We didn't start recording history until 5,000 years ago. Could you imagine if you're a civilization similar that developed on another planet, but you're around a lot longer? What kind of things have they figured out by this point? If you just look at the human race, look at us 100 years ago. Say if this was 100 years ago, say it was 1925 instead of 2025. People in those days, what did they do? They had radios. Those big, you ever see the images of the big old-fashioned radios, right? They had in their living room. They would sit around radios at night all together as a family and listen to mysteries and music or whatever, right? Now look at what we got. We got digital technology. We got widescreen, high definition TVs. We got look at the telephones that they had back then. Now look at what we have. I mean, look at just in 100 years how far we advanced. Like, where are we going to be in another 100 years? Where are we going to be in another 1,000 years? I mean, you think that William Shatner back in the 1960s when he was filming Star Trek and playing Captain Kirk, do you think back then he thought there was ever a chance that he was going to fly into space in a shuttle? No, he would never thought that was possible in his lifetime. But guess what? It was possible because it did happen. He went into space. William Shatner went into space. I mean, the way we're advancing is incredible to me. I mean, for people like my age, if you're in your 50s or 60s, I'm in my 50s. I mean, if you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and you saw some of these, how you remember what things used to be like and what they're like now. We've seen just in our short lifespans, like how technology has advanced. I mean, where computers used to be in the 70s to what they are now. It's unbelievable. It seems almost like if somebody would have showed me what it was going to be, what we were going to have in the future back then, I would have thought, this is crazy. There's absolutely no way. I wouldn't have believed it. But look, here we are. So people just have issues grasping the concept of an intelligent race traversing through, who knows how many millions and light years through space to get here, right? They have problems with that, but guess what? We're going to figure this out. We are going to figure it out, even though a lot of our scientists today say that's impossible. It's impossible. Guess what? Scientists have been like this forever. I mean, I always like to bring up the example of the astronomer Simon Newcomb, who back in the 19th century was very, very popular, and then in the beginning of the 20th century, he made very ignorant comments with regard to flight. He said it was going to be impossible, that mankind would never be able to fly, and only within months, the Wright brothers had their famous first flight. And then when Newcomb heard about this, he said, well, yeah, okay, that was only one guy in there. You're never going to be able to go up in there like with more one person. I mean, the rest is history. Now, to me, I mean, Simon Newcomb, I mean, that was his... Oh, why did now he looks foolish for making that statement. And a lot of scientists today, they make a lot of foolish statements. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson is going to at some point regret some of the statements he's made about this whole phenomenon, because it's obviously at this point, anybody who hasn't accepted it just hasn't been paying attention. There's something here with us. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think that it has anything to do with demons, right? I don't think it has anything to do with ultra-terrestrial beings. I don't think that there's been something here the whole time, right? I think that they may have had there may have been a couple here and there. They might have had, because there have been, just like I was just talking recently about an incident from 1914, right? Where someone saw a craft with beings in it. And I also talked about recently something from the 1800s, from like 1870. I mean, there's all kinds of ships at sea seeing weird things. I think that there's been a presence here, but not in the numbers that we see now. I think it's possible that they were keeping tabs on us for a long time. They were interested in our development, and then when we made some breakthroughs in the 1940s, it seems like, okay, I think some alarm bells went off, and they sent everything here in force, and it could be that they're just interested. We can only speculate about the reasons why they're here, right? But they're here. That's the bottom line. There is most certainly a presence here, and I believe it's a physical presence. I believe that this presence operates within the same laws of physics as we operate, just that they figured out some things technologically that we just have not figured out yet. So that's where I'm at. I mean, Scott Roeder was on the show. I argue. There are a lot of different things that me and him do not agree on. I just point this out. Like at this point in his life, he's saying that he thinks that they're demons. To me, there's no scientific basis for that whatsoever. I'm not saying that. I mean, a demon to me is like what the kind of evil spirit that inhabits the little girl in The Exorcist, right? That's a demon to me. A demon to me is like the guy who decided to kill 4 young people in Idaho with a knife. I mean, that guy's a demon, you know. Epstein, that's a demon. Hitler, he's a demon. I mean, there's demons that in the human race you could point out to, but I don't. Or you could see like these spiritual kind of things that are invisible that you know in movies that's something different. I don't know what that is, right? That's something different, right? However, this is a physical thing. They're here. They're coming from other planets. When you really think about it, it makes the most sense scientifically. That's as far as I'm concerned. Again, this is just my opinion. I mean, if I thought it was something else, I would have called my show something else. I would have called it Ultra-terrestrial reality, or interdimensional being reality, or demonic presence reality, something like that. No, I don't think that that's what it is. I believe that what we are dealing with is some sort of alien technology from other planets or planet. I don't know exactly where they're from. I just feel like that's what it is. It makes the most sense. The fact that you could do an autopsy on them. Remember, there was I talked about on the show. There was this person who was a doctor who alleged that he did an autopsy on an alien, and he provided a big giant description on Reddit about it, anonymously, of course. We can't say with 100% certainty that it's real or not. A lot of people believe it's real, that it was a real doctor and he was describing a real autopsy. That's, to me, that's physical in nature. That's real. That's just like us, right? It's not some spirit from some netherworld. To me, they're coming from other planets, and they just, to us, right? It could seem like magic. A lot of the things that they do, it could seem like they're from another dimension with a lot of things they do. A lot of people say they see them walking through walls. I believe that they are. I think that they figured something out technologically that allows them to do things like that. I don't think it has anything to do with coming from another dimension or anything like that. I think that these beings are physical creatures, and they just run rings around us, around our. They're able to. It's like the ultimate Mission Impossible task for them. I mean, they're doing it. They're getting away with it. They have a lot of people wondering what it is. You have people say, well, one person says, "Oh, I think it's demons. It's demons," and you have somebody else saying, "Oh, I think they're from another dimension." I'm saying they're extraterrestrials. That it makes more sense scientifically when you really think about it. Based all the planets out there, you think about what we have here, right? Look at the incredible number of different species of life that we have here. Almost 9 million different species of life on this planet. And you're going to tell me in a sea of other planets, this planet that we're on is in a sea of other planets, right? There are more planets out there than there are grains of sand on the entire planet. That's how ridiculous this is. You really have to, when you think about this, you realize, okay, there has to be other life out there. Yes. And if there's other life out there, intelligent life that started becoming intelligent way before we did, well, guess what? They figured out some things, and that's what's here. That makes more sense should make more sense to everybody out there. That's what we're dealing with. It's not something monsters from hell. It's not creatures from other dimensions. It's not creatures that were here the whole time that developed right alongside of us and we just didn't see them, or they were living under the earth or something like that. No, I don't think it's any of that. I believe it's extraterrestrial. I think that they're coming from other planets. I would have to think that most people probably who are interested in this subject totally agree with what I'm saying right now. There are some who don't, obviously, and I'm sure I'm going to get some flack for this show, but I'm just giving you my opinion. This is it. I mean, like I always say, it doesn't make me right, but I think that makes more sense scientifically, that they are from other worlds. Anyway, I just want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.